Picture this. It's Black Friday morning. Your phone is blowing up. Group chats are going crazy. Your coworker texted you at 6 a.m. saying the deal ends in an hour. And somewhere, there's a person sitting quietly at their kitchen table. Hot coffee. A book they've been reading all week. Zero notifications. Zero stress. They already knew about the sale. They just didn't care. You probably know someone like this. Maybe you are this person. And if you've ever wondered why some people seem completely immune to the pull of trends, not out of stubbornness, not out of ignorance, there's a very real psychological reason behind it. And once you understand it, you'll never look at yourself, or them, the same way again. Today we're breaking down 5 deep psychological traits of people who simply don't follow trends. Not people who are antisocial. Not people who are just being difficult. People who have, without even realizing it, built a completely different relationship with their own mind. If that sounds like you, this video is going to show you exactly what's working in your favor. And if you've been feeling exhausted by the pressure to keep up with everything online, what you're about to learn might be the most useful thing you hear all week. Let's get into it. Before we talk about the people who resist trends, we need to understand why the rest of us find them almost impossible to ignore. It comes down to one word. Belonging. Humans are wired for it. Thousands of years ago, being part of the group meant survival. Being left out meant danger. That wiring hasn't disappeared. It's just been reprogrammed, by algorithms, by influencers, by comment sections. When you see everyone wearing the same shoes, listening to the same artist, or doing the same morning routine, your brain doesn't think that's interesting. It thinks I'm being left behind. That anxiety, that's ancient survival instinct dressed up in modern clothing. But some people's brains respond differently. And that difference starts with the first sign. Most people's identity is fluid. It shifts depending on what's popular, who they're around, what's trending on social media this week. Psychologists call a well-defined, stable identity high self-concept clarity. And research consistently shows that people who score high in this area are far less likely to be pulled around by outside pressure. Think of identity like a compass. For most people, the compass needle spins constantly. A celebrity posts a new lifestyle. Spin. A fitness trend goes viral. Spin. A new aesthetic takes over social media. Spin. But for people who don't chase trends, the needle barely moves. Not because they're rigid, but because they already know which direction they're heading. They know what music actually moves them, not what's sitting at number 1 on the charts. They know how they like to spend a Sunday, not how the internet says a productive person should spend it. That settled inner compass means when a new trend rolls in, they feel no urgency to grab onto it. They're not lost. They don't need it to tell them who they are. And here's where it gets interesting. That stability tends to create a very specific reaction when something becomes massively popular. Which brings us to sign 2. This one surprises people. You'd think someone with a strong identity would be more confident joining a trend, not less interested. But that's actually backwards. Here's what happens. People who think independently are strongly drawn to genuine discovery. Finding something real. Something that feels personal. Something that wasn't handed to them by an algorithm. Let's say one of these people stumbles across a small documentary on a streaming platform. No major reviews. No social media buzz. But it genuinely changes the way they see something. They love it. 3 months later, that documentary blows up. Suddenly it's on every must-watch list. Everyone at the office is quoting it. And something shifts for them. Not because the documentary got worse, but because the personal discovery, that feeling of I found this, is gone. It's been replaced by mass consumption. And mass consumption, to them, feels flat. They're not being snobby. They're not trying to be different. Their brain is simply no longer stimulated by something that's become pure repetition. So they let it go. They move on. And they start looking for the next thing that feels real. But to consistently find real things in a world full of noise, you need a filter. A very good one. That's sign 3. Here's a pattern behavioral researchers have identified. People who've been burned by hype, and most of us have, either become cynical about everything, or they become smarter about everything. People who don't follow trends tend to fall into that second category. Maybe at some point they bought into a productivity app that millions of people were raving about. Paid for it. Used it for 2 weeks. Then deleted it. Maybe they tried a diet that was all over social media. Felt worse. Not better. Those experiences didn't make them bitter. They made them more precise. They developed a quiet personal rule. Viral does not mean valuable. So now when something new explodes, a new investment trend, a new wellness hack, a new way to build a business that's apparently changing lives, they don't rush in. They wait. They watch. They let the initial wave of excitement settle. And then they ask one simple question. Does this actually improve my life in a way that matters to me? Not does it look good on camera. Not will it get me likes. Not is everyone else doing it. Just, does it actually work? For me. In my real life. That filter cuts out a tremendous amount of noise. And because they're not constantly chasing shiny new things, they develop a very specific relationship with their own judgment. That's sign 4. There's a concept in psychology called internal locus of control. People with a strong internal locus of control believe their decisions and outcomes are shaped primarily by themselves, not by outside forces, popular opinion, or social pressure. In practice, this means something very specific. When they're deciding whether to read a book, they don't check how many stars it has on Goodreads first. They read the first chapter. If it connects, they continue. If it doesn't, they put it down, regardless of whether the rest of the world thinks it's a masterpiece. When they're evaluating a new restaurant, they're not swayed because it has a 2-hour wait and 50,000 followers on Instagram. They go by taste, by experience, by their own palate. This doesn't make them difficult or contrarian. It makes them reliable to themselves. They don't need external confirmation to validate a decision they've already made internally. And the reason that matters, the reason it directly connects to trends, is this. Trends are fundamentally a form of outsourced decision-making. You see millions of people doing something, and your brain says this must be worth doing. That's social proof doing its job. But these people have quietly opted out of that system. Not entirely. They're not robots. But their default setting is trust yourself first, check the crowd second. That independence of judgment naturally leads to the final sign. And honestly, it might be the most important one. Because it is. Here's something worth sitting with for a second. Every platform you use, every trending topic that gets pushed to the top of your feed, every notification designed to pull you back in, all of it is built around one goal. Getting your attention. And keeping it. Attention is the currency of the digital age. And most people spend it without even realizing they're spending it. People who don't follow trends have figured this out, often before they even had the language to describe it. They noticed that following every trending conversation, every viral moment, every cultural wave left them feeling scattered. Tired. Like they'd been running all day and arrived nowhere. So they made a quiet decision. To stop spending attention on things that don't return something real. They check their phone with a specific purpose and then they put it down. They don't doom scroll to stay caught up. They don't join conversations just to have something to say at lunch. They're not antisocial. They're just operating with a budget. And what they do with the attention they save is telling. They direct it toward things that actually compound, skills, relationships, ideas, projects that build into something over time. In a world that's addicted to fast, loud, and disposable, that's not a personality quirk. That's a genuine competitive advantage. So let's bring this together. People who don't follow trends aren't missing something. They're not out of touch. They're not trying to be difficult. They have a stable identity that doesn't need outside trends to feel complete. They're drawn to genuine discovery over mass repetition. They apply a personal quality filter before buying in. They trust their own judgment over the crowd. And they protect their attention like it's limited, because it is. None of this is about being superior to people who enjoy trends. Trends aren't the enemy. But chasing every single one of them, constantly reshaping who you are based on what's popular this week. That's exhausting. And for a lot of people, it quietly erodes their sense of self over time. If any of these 5 signs felt personal to you, if you've been sitting outside the trend cycle and wondering if something's wrong with you, there isn't. You're just built differently. And that's worth understanding. Now I want to hear from you. Is there a trend right now that everyone around you is obsessed with, but you genuinely can't get excited about it? Drop it in the comments. No judgment. Just curiosity. If this video gave you something real to think about, hit like. It helps more than you know. Share it with someone who's always felt a little out of step with what's popular. They'll probably appreciate it. And subscribe if you want more videos that actually dig into the psychology behind how people think, choose, and live. I'll see you in the next one.